1987 as the Long Island Bureau Manager for Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Ellen was already working for WCBS Newsradio 880, and she was already a well-established journalist. She was hired as a freelance reporter in 1980 and would go on to cover all the major stories that happened on Long Island for the next 15 years. That would include crime, politics, environment, health, and education, because these weren't just New York City issues anymore. Before she had left her indelible mark there, I'd like to share how she got started in the news business. When her 3 children were old enough, she decided she could do radio news. And she went to WGSM in Huntington, and she worked for free. WGSM doesn't exist anymore. Ellen wanted to do something different, interesting, and meaningful. Her children and some of her grandchildren are here tonight to celebrate her accomplishments. While she had no formal training, she was a quick study and a worthy competitor. It was, and still is, a daunting job to be under constant deadline pressure in this, the largest media market in the country. Back then, we had no cell phones or GPS to get us to a scene to cover breaking news. You were largely on your own without much guidance from the New York City assignment desk. A Hagster map was your best friend. Once you got to the scene, you had to work it. You had to gather sound bites, then write a story, and she did it remarkably well. Ellen was quite simply smart, reliable, a consummate professional, and funny as hell. Still is. I think it's fair to say that many of us, Ellen and myself included, are still lamenting the loss of News Radio 880 last August, when they went off the air after almost 60 years at the top. Back then, Ellen had a lot to do to make sure her stories could be heard by millions of listeners in the tri-state area. She carried extra batteries and cassettes for her tape recorder, a mic, and alligator clips. And if you don't know what those are, they're little clips you would unscrew the receiver on the phone. You would take the alligator clips, put them on a wire, and then attach them to your cassette player and feed in your story, and to cover several stories. Little did Ellen know when she started as a stringer or a freelancer back then, that she would become known for her smart, accurate, carefully crafted stories that were between 30 and 60 seconds long. Only a true pro can pull it off and make it look so effortless. She is so well thought of to this day that when I mentioned her name recently to several friends, they all remembered her fondly. Unfortunately, Ellen couldn't be here with us tonight, but she is so deserving of this recognition for a long and stellar career. It's my honor and my pleasure to present this award to her son Jim on her behalf. Thank you.
I'm Jim Mitchell, Ellen's son. My mom's recovering from a recent illness, but never at a loss for words. She's given me the statement to read. She told me to read it very slowly. So with that promise, I will read it and make no edits. Here goes. To my esteemed colleagues in the Long Island Press Corps, I had so looked forward to being with you this evening, but fate and a rogue bacteria felt otherwise. As a result, I am just recently back from a hospital stay, which has sapped me of my physical strength and mental sharpness. Although even I must admit, my mental sharpness has been a bit waning in recent years. Now, I disagree with that, but that's what my mom said. First, I must thank you for the extraordinary honor of being named a member of the Long Island Press Club Hall of Fame. What a very special way to cap off a career which for nearly 3 decades brought me no end of personal gratification achievement, recognition, and a great deal of enjoyment. I was responsible for covering everything from local politics to state politics and school board matters, from agriculture to business, from crime and punishment to goodness and stories of helping one's neighbor, plus everything in between. I came to radio reporting at a time when there were very few female reporters, and the few who did exist lugged around heavy tape recorders and microphones. We filed our stories from old-fashioned phone booths, corner drugstores. No cell phones back then. My assigned territory covered western Nassau out to the eastern end of Long Island. Long Island, to me, encapsulates much of what makes our world tick each day, and I was privileged to tell of it all. Thank you, Long Island.